Yes, I'm back again, Mr. Masugu. My full name actually is Kevin Masugu, and this time around we are going to be looking at the distinction between journalism and public relations, right? So I'll give definition of the two concepts, what is journalism and what is public relations. So let me start with public relations, and obviously I'll be quoting certain scholars like Osborne 2001 assess that the etymology of journalism from the etymology of journalism is derived from the Latin "deunials", suggesting a daily account or record. So as a journalist, you are there to gather information, you edit it, you process it, and then you publish it for public consumption. You are there to record what is happening. So this term has come to mean the collection and editing of news, presentation via one or more forms of media. Journalism can be defined as a form of writing that tells people about things that happened but that they might not have known about already. The most important characteristic shared by a good journalist is curiosity, right? A good journalist reads extensively and develop an insatiable appetite to find out much as they can about the world around them. So that's a journalist. You are there, you have to research extensively, and what you have researched, you verify the information. And if you are dealing with the names of people, names of places, you check the spelling, right? Check the spellings, and you correct everything because you are there to report. And don't forget that there is what we call the boomerang, and that is the unintended effect. And once you write something, you can no longer control it, right? But the audience is those who are going to read are the ones who can control it. And let's move on to PR. I will base on the definition of Travis Haley, 1959, who asserts that a public relation is a deliberately a planned and sustained effort to establish and maintain mutual understanding, right? We are there to maintain mutual understanding between the organization and the targeted audiences, which we call the publics. And we are saying that it is planned communication. But you find that just like in journalism, in PR, you really have to research, right? Research is very important in these ones. As a journalist, you talk to the sources. That's where you gather information. And when you're talking of the sources, we are talking about individuals that can give you information. You talk of other newspapers through which you can read and get information, or even books, right? Mind you that there are too many sources. Television, by the way, is a source. A radio programs, right? It can be a source. So you really have to research. You verify your facts. So now I'm going to give the clear distinction between the two concepts, that is public relations and journalism, because quite often you find that people, they do confuse public relations with journalism. So I'll start with public relations. Now let me use a contrastive approach. While public relation is there to build images of organization, it lies with management, right? By the way, if you read Grunig and Hunt 1994, it talks of excellent PR, which is part of management. And on the other hand, journalism, as a journalist, you are there to identify news with information, right? You contact various news sources. They deal with news gathering, attending meetings, news conference, and seminars. While if you look at the public relations, on the other hand, they will be writing news release, right? And while public relations, on the other hand, looks or deals with internal and external house publication, you find that on the other hand, a journalist will be interviewing sources, right? And your sources, they are always out of the newsroom. But with public relations, they will be there to gather information for internal and external houses publication. But as a journalist, you write for the people, obviously external, not for the internal, right? And on the other hand, you find that public relations deal with public speaking, right? Public speaking. If there is a gathering, you are there maybe as a master of ceremony. You are there to give orders, instructions, right? Yes. And when looking at a journalist, while this one is there as a public speaker or public speaking, a journalist will be conducting research for background information. Yes, because when you're writing stories, actually, there is need for you to support your story with what we call the background information. And you find that these newsrooms, they differ, right? They've got their own way, their own style of doing things. But a good story should always have the background, right? So, while on the other hand, PR deals with writing of articles for both internal and external publics. Right? Internal, we are talking about those within the organization, and external, we are looking at those who are outside the organization. And the reason for that is that you want to create images. And while on the other hand, a journalist will be taking photos or even making some captions for photographs, right? Usually, a journalist doesn't take photos. We have what we call photograph journalism, right? We've got experts, people who are the expert in taking photographs. It's a journalist, right? So PR, on the other hand, again, they will be dealing with, they produce publications, they edit, and then they also deal with photography and layout of a newspaper or a newsletter or the magazine, or even the programming of maybe certain programs that they want to pen it to a CD. But a journalist, on the other hand, what he does is he writes reports and articles of various kinds, right? And various kinds, obviously, it will take us to hard news, soft news. Hard news, we are talking about hard news, you know, hard news, mainly guided by the inverted pyramid. But soft news, we've got the comments, analysis, observation, a columnist, right? All those, they fall under what we call the soft news writing, right? And on the other hand, now looking at the public relations, they can be involved in preparing the audio-visual presentations, all right? But on the other hand, while this one prepares audio-visual presentation, a journalist will be rewriting news release and news report received from news agencies, right? So you can see the distinction. And the other distinction is that while a public relations officer or manager or professional conduct a research about the public opinions about the articles, on the other hand, a journalist will be editing reports and articles and writes headlines depending on the size of the newspaper, right? Usually, other newspapers, you find that headlines, they are being actually crafted by the editors. But other newspapers, you find that any journalist can, work on the headline. But by the way, a headline should be advertising and whetting the appetite of the reader, and it sells the paper, right? Yes. While on the other hand, a public relations expert will be arranging news conferences. He arranges news conferences. Now, on the other hand, now looking at the journalist, depending with the size of the paper, does page layout. But you find that other newspapers, especially big newspapers, you find that they've got expert people who deal with the layout of the newspaper. A journalist is there only to gather information, write a story and submit it to the editor, right? So there is area of specialization. But if you work for the community newspaper, you know that you are an all-rounder. You can even work as a marketing officer at one time, go and bank money into the bank account, gather news stories. You can do anything, right? And public relations, they've got what we call the extended duties, which a journalist at times cannot be involved in, like arranging for special events. You still remember the issue of issue management. Because of time, I'm not going to shed more light on that. So definitely that's the distinction between public relations and journalism. So enjoy your day till we meet next time. Thank you so much. For those who want to contact me, you can actually contact me through my mobile number, which is 0773210607, or my email is masuc@msu.ac.zw or masuc.carven@gmail.com. Yes. Thank you so much. I guess you will enjoy this. Till we meet. Bye.